Hello, hello, beautiful souls. Hello, my awakened boss ladies. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to our weekly Confessions of an Awakened Boss Lady. This week, we go into my seeds and stories, the seeds and stories of my awakening, the things that I have lived it as a living workshop, which is what my life is. And this is where I share learnings. This is where I come in and I share with you what pieces made a huge difference in how I woke up to the power of myself, to the power of self love, self acceptance, self awareness, all the pieces that have created this version of me, this version of who I am today. So, this is a very transparent and vulnerable session. I always love coming up here and sharing truth and really coming from a place of, the stories that I used to hold true and what I hold true today. I come from a perspective of sharing the before and the after with you in the hope that it resonates with either where you are now or something that you're working through currently or a version of yourself that you've gotten a peek of that no longer serves you. So today I want us to talk about gaining awareness and clarity of what fuels you, what lights up your life, what helps you be energy rich, what creates inspiration. Anything that is life giving is understood as something that is fueling you, adding to your ability to keep going, to go higher, to get bigger, to expand, to, create all the things that you want to create. And as you know, I work based on the pillars of the codes of self, right? The pillars that I know bring you to an awakened state that guide you towards the highest version of you and that guide you towards living the highest trajectory. So when I talk about the pillars of power, of the power of self and the codes of the power of self, I'm talking about all the elements around self discovery, knowing who you really, really are, remembering who you are, what you're capable of, right? There's that self discovery of that version of yourself. Then I talk about self awareness, having clarity around where you want to go. What are your yeses? What are your nos? What are the things that are derailing you? Awareness around what's helping you, what's hindering you, what's toxic, what's expired, what's life giving, right? All of that lives in the pillar of self awareness. Then we go into, and it's very much a step by step approach, right? Then we go into self care. How do I create a life where I am caring for this vision that I have? That where I'm caring for what matters most for me, where I'm working towards the things that matter for me, right? And that's all in the self care. Then there is self love, which is a powerful one, right? Do I love and hold and befriend myself? Am I a friend to myself? Am I loving unconditionally, right? The self acceptance piece is all in this part. And then we go into leadership. Self leadership is about how we walk through this world, how we show up, who we are, who we be, who we're becoming. All of those elements are the pieces around the power and the codes of self. And today I want us to kind of hone in on a different on one of the perspectives towards self-awareness. And that's being aware of what fuels you. Do you know what is adding life for you, or what is taking away life? Do you know what are the elements, the things in your life that are matters of life giving, source giving, supporting yourself? And a lot of times a woman may know what's life giving, what are the things that are fueling her, and a lot of times we don't. That's why I talk about shadow and having these pieces in blind spots, right, of ourselves. Like when a woman doesn't even know what things are derailing her, or what things are creating havoc in her life, or what things are killing her energy, or are making her tired or sad or sluggish. That's because you're not accessing what is life giving, what is fueling you. An awakened boss lady knows that she goes first. An awakened boss lady knows that she is the person that is most important in the parameter of her life. And taking care of herself is part of what I mean when I say you go first. It's about creating a life where you know that taking care of you is the most meaningful thing that you can do for all the people, all the things, and all the areas in your life, and all the people, places, and things that matter to you. So when you're building this awareness, it's about understanding that you want to create a life that is built on self care versus building a life that's overgiving, overextending yourself, a life that's based on depletion, on running on empty. And we all know what this looks like, right? Because a lot of our conditioning says that it is more important to give than to receive. A lot of our conditioning says that when we are um, putting ourselves first, we're selfish, right? And that leads us into actions of overextension, of putting others before our own needs and wants. And all of this is what gets to turn around when you awaken. If you're still under the belief system of my worth comes from how much I give and how much I extend myself, and how much I make others matter more than me, or what others think matter more than what I think, or what others need more than what I need, then you're in the old paradigm, right? You're in the old, asleep, conditioned, right, version of yourself. And that's what matters when we talk about, when we have these conversations, when we have these sessions, right? Because when we're in a state of overgiving, it's a very slippery slope. We can go from overgiving to overextending to depletion to running on empty to being pulled in different directions to a state of feeling resentment, anger, right? Because we've looked so far away from ourselves. And then from there, we move into things like stress, physical, visceral experiences, right? Where it now hits the body because it's the last frontier, right? Where we're going into stress, anxiety, and full burnout. And that can show up in so many different ways. Like when it starts to hit the physical system, it's going to show up in the weakest point of your body. Some women will start to have thyroid issues, right? Because they're holding their throat chakra from speaking their power, from really saying what they believe is true, from taking a stand for themselves and speaking up. Some women, it may be digestive issues because it's living in their solar plex, right? Where their power lives, which is right in your stomach. And it may start as like indigestion or all the different stomach issues that we present. And it's really our physical, visceral response to overextending ourselves, to running on empty, to allowing ourselves to being pulled in every direction, and all the beliefs that come underneath those behaviors. So today we're talking about, do you know what fuels you? And maybe you don't know what fuels you, but at least can you recognize what doesn't? Right? This is about self awareness, knowing what are your yeses and what are your nos. What fuels you are your yeses. What takes away from that, what hinders, what derails, what depletes are the nos. And just having that level of awareness and clarity is a huge step towards an awakened, embodied boss lady, right? Where we're not just running on doership, and we're not just running on to-do lists and action points and full schedules, but we're working from a place of self-care, which is the first piece, right? And I'm sharing this because recently I had a, 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 a an experience that challenged this, right? I just got back from vacation. I was away for about 5 days. And before going on vacation, there was a moment where I felt like you know, shouldn't, right? My least favorite word, which is shouldn't, right? Whenever you say shouldn't, there's a problem there. There's a conditioning there, right? At least as far as I believe. Um, I was starting to feel like maybe I shouldn't go on vacation because I just got back from a business trip. I've been traveling and doing the retreats and going to different places. And here I am leaving again. And that required rescheduling my one on one clients, moving people around, which I hate to do, reaching out and organizing timing and scheduling, which is not always the easiest. So I started to feel like this vacation may be an overindulgence, maybe something that I could do without. And I really started to question if it was necessary. Well, maybe I can go on vacation in a month. Maybe I can take some time here when it's quieter, or when there's less people on my schedule, or when I have less clients to serve. All very good reasons, especially for someone like myself who's a supporter and is devoted to contribution, right? And gets so much out of helping others and mentoring, right? So for me, my work is life giving. And yet, there was a very thin line between doing it from a place of cup runneth over, or doing it from a place of depletion, from a place of overextension. And that is when I had the ability to catch myself. These are momentary blind spots where you could kind of lose your way, right? And I recognize the pattern, which is also something that matters when you're awakened. Can you see your blind spots? Can you see the patterns that are derailing you? And I immediately said, no. The most meaningful and helpful thing that I can do for anyone that I support, serve, contribute, collaborate, co create with is to take time off right now. Because in putting myself first and filling my cup is that I can be of most service to others. And that's exactly what happened. I just got back last night, and today I am inspired. I'm renewed. I am feeling full of ideas. I had an opportunity to really do the things that matter when you are fueling yourself. And the first one is to come into self care. Self care is Again, not about doing your nails or doing your hair or going to the spa, although some of those things, all of those things are part of it. But when we're doing self care, we're really cleaning up the beliefs and the behaviors that are no longer serving us, the beliefs and behaviors that may have seeped in recently, and it's happening cyclically. It's not something that's one and done. It's your devotion to cleaning up your side of the street that's going to make a difference, because as you're living through life, as you're walking through life, you're going to have experiences that create different perspectives, right? And can, make your beliefs or your behaviors shift in a certain way. And when you work on self care, you are really cleaning up your side of the street. You're really doing the inner work that allows you to take inventory of what beliefs are still serving you, are still expansive, are still life giving, or what beliefs are limiting, what behaviors may be derailing you, habits, attitudes, ways, patterns, ways of doing things that are no longer guiding you towards that highest trajectory, that dream, that desire, that goal that you're looking for. So the first step in taking time for yourself is self-care, is doing this cleanup. The second thing is to really bring yourself to a place of rest, relaxation, receptivity, self contemplation, all the things that allow you to go inward and check in with self as to what's really there for you, as to where the truth lies for you in all the areas of your life, as to what is north. Because when we're just going, and we're in action mode and we're in doership and we're just in the hamster wheel, we're not really looking upwards. We're not raising our view to the long game, to the higher vision that we are looking to create. And taking these moments of stopping, right? These moments where you move away and go into a rest stop to even contemplate what fuels you matter, because there are moments in which you're able to take stock of, like, am I in the right direction? Is this still the vision, right? So you first want to stop, rest, relax, go into receptivity, go into, thinking inward, self reflection of where you are currently. It's an assessment, right? And then you want to take care of what's no longer serving you, right? Really go into cleaning up what's there. And then the last thing is going into overflow, allowing yourself to fill that tank, to fill that cup. And what are we filling it with? We're filling it with new energy, right? With the new inhale that comes in, we're filling it with inspiration, newfound inspiration. We're filling it with whatever it is that requires new impulse, physical strength, right? Whatever is allowing you to go farther, faster, right? These are the things that we're looking to gain when we are fueling ourselves. So what I want to make sure that I leave as the main message here is, please know that as we're building the new, as we're changing how we have been conditioned, how we have been taught from past school of thought or from past rule books, we're changing the direction of how things flow. And a lot of times, the things that would go last are now needing reorganizing, are now needing for us to adapt, adjust, right? Get agile and restructure the order of things. And how you care for yourself is one of those things. Where in the past it was very much put at the end, it is now something that you get to bring to the very front of things, to the very beginning of any cycle, of any phase, of any project, of any experience, of any day. This is what matters most, is for you to be able to change this, right? Because what I know to be true, and I remember this, book that I read back when I was in corporate, and it's what got you here will not get you there. And it's a book by Marshall Goldsmith, and it's very much about the things that you did to get to a certain level, and a certain level in the corporate ladder, are no longer, as you continue to go up, the things that will continue to help you. And that's very much what we're talking about when we're talking about going from a place of walking through life coasting, asleep, being run by, outside conditions, versus walking through life awakened, right? Tapping into the power of self and being run by the in condition, the inside, the inward build, right? And that is the shift that needs to happen. What got you here is no longer going to get you there. And you recognizing this and starting to look inward and make the changes that need to be made for these things to happen is what matters. Knowing that it's all about you going first. And you going first is about starting to ask difficult questions, starting to ask curious questions, starting to come into observation about your patterns, your behaviors, starting to befriend, right? The version of you that you thought was going to set you astray, maybe the version that's holding the golden nugget that's going to lead you to that edge that you're looking for in this time in your life. So I want to very much invite you to go inward and get a feel for what fuels you, and know that it's a very intimate experience and a very individualized experience. What fuels you is what fuels you. And you finding out what that is what matters. It may not be what fuels another, right? And it could be the thing that makes you most energy rich. And that is all that matters for you to be able to keep on keeping on. So that is my contribution for Confessions of an Awakened Boss Lady today. Seeds and stories of my awakening, sharing with you little things that come up for me as we go, because we're all doing our work all the time. And I invite you to please share on here if there's anything that comes up for you as I've shared, this um this awakening, this invitation to higher awareness and higher clarity. Is there anything that becomes something you'd like to hear more about? I'd love for this, as I always say, I'd love for this to be a dialogue. So sharing your thoughts, contributing with what's coming up for you during this, as you see this, matters to me. It matters to all of us, because I'm sure you've got something that another woman needs right at the time in which you share it. And also share hashtag replay if you're seeing this after this live session, so that I can also get a feel for how many of you are, feeling like this is adding value. I'm sending you lots of love. I'm sending you lots of light. And I am here in humble service and contribution to all of our awakening. So I would love to hear from you. Have an amazing day.